Yeah, okay, super. So we're starting the afternoon sessions now. We have like a bunch of talks, one after the other. What we've done is we've managed to discover local homegrown talents who've made their name across different parts of India and the world, right? And the first one is the senior most among them probably. We have, and the topic is called Building India as the Global Gaming Powerhouse and what it takes. To tell us more, I'd like to invite Senjam Raj Sekhar to tell us more.
Thank you, Machaya. Okay. He's actually put me in a perfect slot between lunch and the afternoon nap. While he served us very excellent lunch, I enjoyed it. There was one missing ingredient in that lunch, which is a strong black coffee. So therefore, if I see at least 80% of you awake, then I'll consider that I have made a really good presentation. So if you look at gaming in India, I truly believe that we are at a kind of an inflection point in which we could actually only rise and do a hockey stick kind of curve from here. So if you look at the current, this is Lumikai report, which is the last report that came out. More than 500 million gamers, the second largest in the world, and also rapidly growing, the fastest growing gaming population. The second one, if you see, is that in terms of mobile downloads, we actually lead everybody else. We are the number one as far as mobile downloads is concerned. Large gaming population, large people downloading, a lot of people actually playing. It's a very, very ripe market for us. However, if you look at gaming revenues, we are at a very, very low position. We're just $3 billion. The total global gaming revenues is $200 billion. China is several times, at least 13, 14 times ahead of us at $42 billion. So we've got a long distance to cover. And there are even more pointers. If you look at the top gaming companies across India, there are a lot of gaming companies across the length and breadth of India. But if you look at the top gaming companies across India, across the world, the top gaming companies also here, Sony. So if you look at the top gaming companies across the world, really India doesn't feature in, not even in the top 50. The only Indian company that features in the companies with top market cap is Nazara, but that too is 67. So we've got some distance to cover as far as gaming is concerned. And if you look at the top gaming titles, favorite gaming titles, even among you guys, you are gaming developers, and all of that would probably be a foreign gaming title. Anybody whose favorite gaming title, all-time favorite gaming title is an Indian title? Anybody? Except your own creation, of course. Yeah, so even the top gaming titles are actually not made in India. They are made outside, but they are, because of the way they are excellent gaming titles, is doing extremely well. And here, in order to the premise that I have is that India actually is at a position in which you can actually take a very, very quantum leap. I'd like to tell you the China story. Now will be some similarities and there'll be some differences as far as the China story, as far as the China and India growth story is concerned. There are some things that Indian companies will need to do. There are some things that the Indian gaming ecosystem needs to do in order to get there at that pole position where the other countries are. But if you really look at gaming history in general, you will find that it's either Japanese, European, American, or Korean companies who have really been ruling the roost for a very, very long time, since console, PC, etc. And in China, it was no different. But if you look at the China currently, these are the top 100 companies by market cap. The top 2 companies are actually Chinese companies. In the top 100, there are actually 30-35 Chinese companies in there. And and I told you that in that list, the only Indian company that makes it is actually at 67. But if you look at China in early 2000, was really a little bit of a market like India. Early 2000 China, if you look at it, the top games were actually either Korean or Taiwanese game. Not the foreign titles, not the titles from the West, because culturally they were very, very similar to what the Chinese gamers were looking for. And 80% of all gaming titles and 70% of all revenues were actually coming from foreign titles. So that's where China was, and and this is not very far away. I'm talking about just around 20 years back. The real growth in the China gaming story happened in the last 20 years. Did not happen before that. It is a large gaming population like India had, but the real growth only happened in the early 2000s. And I'll tell you what are the real things that really influenced it. First of all, for gaming to develop, you need infrastructure to happen. In 2008, China surpassed US as the country with the largest number of internet users. In 2008, if you look at Indian internet population, that was very, very minuscule. We did not even have 100 million internet users, and that too, 2G. I don't know whether 3G was there or maybe Edge was there at that point of time. 2010, they actually passed the 1 billion mark. We only passed it now. We passed the 1 billion mobile users mark only now. But more importantly, 2010 was also the time the number of online gamers actually exceeded that of US and anybody else. So I believe the infrastructure which was created in China at that point in time was ripe, and that infrastructure actually I think is being created in India right now. So that's the infrastructure is required. The other one is that you had Chinese companies like NetEase and Shanda. NetEase started as an internet company, came into gaming, and then said we are going to develop titles with Chinese themes. They developed titles with Chinese theme. This fantasy westward journey became the overtook everybody else and became the best-selling title in China. There was a very active support offered by the Chinese government, and very, very active support to all the companies. And more importantly, they said we're not just going to make games for the Chinese market, we're going to make games for the global market. And if you look at the hottest game in India right now, for which we have the largest number of gamers, the largest number of influencers, and then for which a lot of esports influencers came up. That's PUBG, BGMI. That's not any other game, but that's really what was ruling the roost in India. The other one that happened was that companies like Tencent actually started acquiring companies abroad. But however, they kept on retaining their original roots. So if you ask a lot of people in the audience who do not know, Riot Games, Epic Games, and Supercell, you will not find people saying that it's really a Chinese company. But they are all owned by Tencent. They're all majority owned by Tencent. The Clash of Clans, League of Legends, the big games are actually Chinese owned, and that's something which they have done over the last 10, 15 years. Large number of acquisitions. So this is why I believe Indian gaming is at the inflection point. First of all, if you look at two infrastructure, if you look at data infrastructure, we are actually, in terms of data use, we are doing extremely well. More importantly, in terms of data, in terms of cost of data, we are the cheapest data in the world. We are the largest consumer of data. We are the cheapest data in the world. And the other one, which in fact we're leading the world, is really in the payment infrastructure. Which, if you really see that, UPI has really gone to the very, very depths and this thing of the country. The gamer is a maturing gamer today. It's not just a gamer. We used to think at one point of time that Indian gamers, are only play free-to-play games. They are interested in advertising. Not any longer. There is a gamer ecosystem where the guy is saying that, I am willing to do in-app purchases. In fact, in-app purchases is growing at a much faster pace in India than in-app advertising. So that's a big plus. Your ARPU is growing, and this is not just RMG alone. Your ARPU generally for non-RMG companies as well across India is growing. The number of paying gamers, people who would want to pay, is growing, and so therefore, and the revenue for the casual games is actually overtaking the growth of the number of downloads. So it's really from a gamer perspective, it's something which is very interesting. The other one is that if you look at the influencer ecosystem, if you take the top 3 individual YouTubers, all of them are gamers. The top 3 are the only one who have more than 4 crore subscribers, and they are the only ones who are, and all those 3 are gamers. Now, quiz question. Which prominent YouTube influencer. Actually grew up in Guwahati, gaming influencer, studied in Happy Child School, and then is now, is now doing very well. All of you know him. Thug, great answer. Animesh Agarwal, 8-bit thug, grew up in Guwahati, backyard, spent till class 12 here, started gaming here. So it's essentially you've got, I have a nephew who's into gaming, and then young chap, he's around 16, 17 years old, and he tells me, from the northeast, gaming cannot really develop because we don't get the right this thing. And I give him this example. Do you know 8-bit thug? I said, oh, he's a legend. I said, oh, he's from Guwahati, studied in this. Did he? So the one part is that we in the northeast have not really done a good job about telling that there could be a active game development out of northeast. That there could be you can come out from northeast and be a gamer, and then actually can change the Indian ecosystem, not just the northeast ecosystem. So Machai has done a great job by putting this here. But I think more importantly, I think we need to, together as a community, go to the larger audience and tell the government, tell everybody else that here, we are here. There is a large gaming community that exists. There's a large game development. And I'm also learning. So when Machai actually said that, there is, we're doing this in Guwahati as well, is wow, you're doing this in Guwahati. And I've been staying here for the last 3 years. I work for MPL Bangalore, working remote. So I said, great. I didn't know that there was such a great ecosystem. I met all of you guys, so it's great. So the influencer ecosystem, I think that's one. So that's one which is coming up. The other one is that if you look at studios from across the world, Sony has a studio here as well. A lot of other people like Zynga has a studio for a very long time. Ubisoft, all of these guys actually have put up studios, and therefore it's put up. There is a people can have careers as a developer. People can have careers in the global gaming studios as well, sitting from India. The other one, which has happened in the last 3 or 4 years, is actually rise of independent gaming studios focused on mid-core. Now we have lot of other games coming in, but actually for 3 or 4 companies to actually come and say that I'm going to set up a mid-core, I'm going to set up a studio focused on mid-core, I think is a very, very encouraging sign. Mayhem Studios belongs. We started this around 2 years back. We're developing a game called Underworld Gang Wars, and we had a beta, very successful beta. We're going to launch this year. Super Gaming is of course coming up with Indus Gaming, and interestingly, there's Light Fury Games which just came in this year, and it's doing well. There is Nodding Heads Game which already launched its game. I see the guys from Redimension here. Very proud of you. And I didn't know of you guys. My bad. So when Machaya said that they had at IGDC they had this competition to find out the upcoming game of the year, and the big guns like Super Gaming etc. came in, but it's a studio from our own Dimapur which has actually beat all the big guns. I was like truly happy. So it's not that you just don't need to be from a Bangalore. You just don't need to go to Bangalore or a Pune or a Delhi to set up a studio and build brilliant games. You can do that sitting in Surat, like this X Squad. They've been doing it for the last, they've been doing it from Surat for the last 4 years, and of course Redimension from Dimapur. So, and it's a great sign. The sign that the biggest sign for growth of any ecosystem is that it has gone from the big cities to across the country. I think that's the biggest sign you can get as far as the potential of Indian gaming is concerned. This gentleman, the Notch, actually proved to the world, was an inspiration to millions of gamers and game developers across the world that you can sit in your own bedroom, make games, and that game could actually be such a big hit that Microsoft pays you $2.5 billion to get the game, and that game eventually now is earning $70 billion, mostly in profit. This is Minecraft. So this is, He's actually, he did not, he was working in some other studio. When he said, okay, this is the game, he put it up. Somebody said, okay, this looks like a good sleeper hit. He quit his job, got his friend in, and then made it big. Inspiration to all of us. Inspiration, especially saying that okay, you don't need. I believe Reed, I mentioned you started with 3-man, 3-people studio. It's not that you need a large 1,000 people to sort of come in and do AAA games or or any games that could reach some kind of stature. The other one is that if you really look at game titles from India, who would have imagined that Ludo King would get 1 billion downloads? Board game, but 1 billion downloads was really a big landmark for India, and lot of global gaming community noticed it, saying that this game is the one which is doing so well. Raji, another one which actually won a lot of awards across. They're coming up with new versions as well. So this is another sign saying that okay, we are confident enough to go and compete. So the Nodding Heads guy said, I'll go to Taiwan and compete in the most prestigious game shows along with the rest of the title. There is a kind of confidence which is coming in Indian game development studios, the kind of confidence which is not there earlier. Earlier, if they used to say it, because this year and 2023 has not been very good for funding of startups, and this year they say the joke is that if you want to get funded, you have to attach AI to your name. Only then you will get funded. However, gaming studios are getting funded. So I talked about Light Fury Studios. It was not set up by any gamer. So there was this chief marketing officer of Unacademy who said, okay, I'm going to start a gaming studio and I'll do a AAA game. He teamed up with 2 other folks from his old company, and they got $8.5 million in funding. So funding is available. In fact, Lumika is a fund which is focused on gaming, but there are a lot of other. So there are funds and there are companies willing to fund. Crafton funded you guys, and there's a large fund available. So I think from a gaming studio perspective, it's great. These guys are looking for the right studio. They're looking for the right titles to invest in, and anywhere from $5 to $20 million ticket size is something people are willing to fund. I mean, you may probably not need 5 million. You may probably need 1 million. And Druhin actually made that presentation where he said that okay, if you have to pick up funding, pick it up for marketing. Pick it up for marketing, because don't pick it up. Don't give so much money for development or whatever. Make it for marketing, because I think that marketing is something that we, as a Northeast, not just Northeast, as a game developer, need to do. I was in a dev days in Calcutta, and I learned of so many titles of the last 5-10 years that I've never heard of, and I'm sure, and most of the audience did not hear of that. We were talking about a hardcore gaming audience who could you tell them this game from New Zealand and they will say, yes, I know it, but this game from India, they will not know it. So I think there's a marketing, if there is funding, take it for marketing. Duhin, have you already made your presentation? Oh, you have, okay. The other one is that, remember I talked to you about Indian companies, Chinese companies going abroad and acquiring companies. I think this is also happening. So we have, right now, Indian companies are going out and saying we will go abroad. So Nazara actually has around 60% of its revenues coming from outside India. MPL, we made an acquisition 2 years back of a German company called Game Duel, a studio focused in Europe, and we also launched in US as well as Nigeria, and we now have around 35% of the revenues coming from outside India. But it's not just, we don't need to have one Nazara, one MPL. We need around 50, 100 Nazaras and MPL to actually go out and see it. Winzo, another one which is actually launched in Brazil, so that's good news. But actually you need global ambitions and to actually go and make it there. The other one, if you look at it, the government of India is really supporting the gaming sector. I actually, if you look at Modi's interview in the last 3 or 4 interviews, he actually would put in gaming. So he said which sectors are doing well. Even last interview you said gaming. Even NDTV interview you said gaming. Now, would you have imagined in 2014 election or 2019 election, somebody saying, okay, a lot of sectors are doing well and gaming sector is great focus. So I think there is a government who's saying, I am encouraging gaming, bring out games, focus with Indian themes and Indian culture. And a lot of you are doing that. I think there is full support coming from the government on the gaming sector. Yeah, so that's essentially it. I think it's good news. I think we're just poised, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And 100% of the audience did not nod off, so so thank you for not nodding off despite a brilliant lunch.
Thank you, Senjam. That was a really cool presentation. Thank you.